The unstoppable force versus the immovable object. Wall Street and government manipulation versus the free market. This is an article from yesterday. Bitcoin futures traders are quietly building a big short position. I'll attach a link to the article here on Zero Hedge, but basically the conclusion is that spec investors have used the futures contracts to establish Bitcoin shorts. It's not an enormous short position yet, but if you check the Bitcoin chart, basically since the Bitcoin futures contracts launched, it's helped put in a top. So there would be obviously people that would disagree with that, but since the Bitcoin futures contracts on the different exchanges have launched, Bitcoin has struggled to rebound. So basically I'm doing this video because in my opinion, I think although there's a lot of, bearish Bitcoin and Litecoin articles, and we're seeing brand new coins, whether it's Tron or other, spike like crazy, that people aren't really researching the long-term potential benefits of these coins, just that they're cheap, they're new. Some of these coins don't even have proper websites yet, or can't even do, the CEO of the coins can't even do periscopes. That's how speculative these things are. The website isn't even set up. These things, like my buddy Louis Camersano Smallgold says, are essentially just white papers that have $1 billion or more valuations. Some of these new altcoins even have, $10 billion valuations or more. And they don't even have a proper website set up, and they can't even do marketing materials yet. They just have a white paper, and they're, billions of dollars in valuation. So in my opinion, I'm going to show you guys this on the charts, 1 month charts, which is really where Bitcoin and Litecoin in the last month, they did make their tops. Bitcoin could not hold above 20,000, got close, and now it's been going down ever since. But I think, in my opinion, Bitcoin and Litecoin are going to consolidate for at least another few months, maybe a little bit longer than that. And they're going to go up, down, up, down. It's going to frustrate a lot of people. But this is what you see in actually a healthy bull market. So unlike some of these other crazy altcoins that have gone up like crazy, whereas Ripple was, in my previous video a week or so ago, it was a parabola on top of a parabola, and we were seeing all these YouTube pumper channels say Ripple's going to go to 5, then to 10, then to 30, and then to 50 without a major correction. It was obvious when you see a parabola on top of a parabola that eventually it was going to have a crash in the short term. So Bitcoin and Litecoin both had their parabolic moves in 2017. And in the past, they've actually had big corrections for a while. They've consolidated their gains. Ethereum did the same thing in 2017, if you guys remember. Ethereum could not get above $400 a coin. It consolidated for, I believe, about 5 months between May of 2017 and around November of 2017, and then it broke out. So I could see Bitcoin and Litecoin doing the same thing. Bitcoin and Litecoin charts are very similar in terms of their trading range. Bitcoin right now, after here in my chart on my mouse moving down here, Bitcoin almost got to 20,000 on its first move test there, dropped down to around a little above 12,000. Now it's in a trading range. So it's around 13,000 to 17,000. So it's kind of been bouncing up and down here. May do this for another 6 months or more. It could. It may take a little less than that. So what's your opinion of this? But I think we're going to be range bound for a while. But in the whole long-term scheme of things, this is healthy. Maybe if Bitcoin does drop out of this trading channel that it's in now, that would be a potential buying opportunity. Although a lot of technical traders wouldn't buy it, but as a contrarian, that would interest me. But I think this is a good time while Bitcoin and Litecoin are both consolidating here for at least the next few months. And let me pull up the Litecoin chart here to show you guys. Similar chart behavior. Litecoin tried to get close to 400. It got to like 369-ish at one point, and it crashed. And now it's in a trading range between high of 320, which it can't hold right now, and low of a little under 220, 216-ish. So it's been bouncing around between 216 and 320-ish. So it could be range bound for a little while. But, in the whole long-term scheme of things, these are actually healthy in terms of a bull market, unlike some of these other crazy other altcoins where there was not a major consolidation period of digesting gains. So what are you guys' opinion of this? Do you think then that I'm right that Bitcoin and Litecoin are going to consolidate for another couple of months, and then they're going to potentially break out to even higher levels? That seems to me, based on, past behaviors of Bitcoin and Litecoin, because obviously there's been over 1,000 Bitcoin obituaries that Bitcoin's going to crash and burn and die. Although, now we are seeing some cases with, I'm going to pull up here the crypto coinmarketcap.com, where Bitcoin dominance is down to 33%. So that would seem as a contrarian to be it's time to probably get back into Bitcoin. Although Bitcoin does have some problems now with transaction speed and the amount of costs, but which coins are really going to potentially take that market share? You know, my listeners, a lot of them think that Litecoin can. Although Bitcoin Cash has performed better lately than Litecoin, there's huge issues with Bitcoin Cash as well. So it'll be interesting to see in terms of the payment system, if Bitcoin's problems in terms of the amount of time it takes to complete a transaction and the costs now will actually start to go down. But what are your opinions on the costs of Bitcoin mining? You know, I've heard some experts like John McAfee say that it was around $1,000 now to mine Bitcoin, but it seems that, you know, every couple of years the costs are going to rise because it's kind of the way the blockchain program was set up by Satoshi is that the costs are going to rise to mimic very similar to how gold mining is, where the textbook is that over time the cost of a commodity should fall, but we know that with gold mining that's not the case, that it becomes harder and harder to find each ounce of gold. And now, you know, we're moving enormous amounts of tons of uneconomic rock just to find like a gram or two of gold. We're literally moving 2,000 tons of uneconomic ore just to get a gram or two of gold. It's insane. So if you don't have the money to go out and buy Litecoin or Bitcoin right now, even if you don't have the money to go out and buy fractions of a coin, here's some other ways, or more conservative ways maybe, to play Bitcoin and also Litecoin eventually going back up. Hive Blockchain Technologies is a very interesting play. It's backed by billionaire Frank Giustra. Yes, I know he's corrupt, as he claims to be a libertarian, but he's corrupt as shit. And he was involved with the Clinton Foundation. He's one of the main guys in Uranium One. But the guy has built a lot of successful companies. He was involved with Gold Corp, I believe. He was involved with a bunch of other successful mining companies long before Uranium One. He built Lionsgate Studios. The guy's built a lot of successful mining companies over the years. So if you're interested, this company, Hive Blockchain, Frank Holmes, the other major resource investor, they own a pretty large stake in one of the largest Bitcoin mining operations in the world in Iceland that has huge advantages in terms of cheap geothermal power and also heating and cooling costs because of the naturally cold climate up there in Iceland. So they don't have to spend as much money cooling down all the mining rigs that are mining Bitcoin 24/7, 365. So Hive Blockchain claims that in 18 months or less, they will be generating $25 million per year in free cash flow mining Bitcoin. So here's their website. You can do more due diligence on your own. It's an interesting play. The other one is MGT Capital. And so they're not quite as big of an operation as Hive Blockchain, but they are one of the larger Bitcoin miners now in North America. They did borrow a lot of debt. I think it was a convertible debenture, a good amount of millions of dollars to start mining the Bitcoin. But I believe they're from looking at their last financial filings, they're very close to paying off all their debt if they haven't already paid it off. They've already mined 1,000 Bitcoins. They did that back in August 2017. So they are scaling up, and they're planning on growing. And I believe their mining facilities, most of them right now, are in Washington State, which has a pretty cold climate up there. Hive Blockchain plans on diversifying into other geographical locations and I think eventually mining other cryptocurrencies. So these are cheaper and potentially maybe even dividend plays in the future to mine these, because supposedly they're, unlike regular gold mining companies, their costs can actually be more fixed and not quite as variable, as opposed to, you know, regular mining operation for a commodity miner like an oil or natural gas, a coal miner, or a gold, silver, metal miner. So these are interesting plays. Do your own due diligence on these two companies. Supposedly, from what I've heard, MGT Capital may be uplisting to the NASDAQ. They're over the counter right now. And Hive Blockchain is on the TSXV, is on the Vancouver Stock Exchange, or TSXV. Definitely do some due diligence on that. And the end of the week, I'm interviewing Chris Coney, who's the founder of Cryptoversity, which is a very interesting company, and we're going to be talking about the cryptocurrency markets, how he found cryptocurrency. I believe he's a libertarian computer programmer. So that'll be an interesting interview, get his opinion then on some different cryptocurrencies, maybe on Bitcoin can solve their problems with the payment processing that's allowing some of these other altcoins to gain market share from Bitcoin. And we'll see what he thinks about that. I know he has a team. You have to pay to be a Cryptoversity member, and there's a lot of good education there. I know he has a staff of researchers that spends a lot of time going through initial coin offerings and the altcoins to try to figure out which to separate the wheat from the chaff. So if you guys have questions for Chris Coney, you can type them below in this comment section, and maybe I'll ask them. I've been writing out the questions list now for that. So what do you guys think? Do you think then that Bitcoin and Litecoin, based on the charts here, are going through a pretty interesting consolidation? You know, we've seen this before with both Bitcoin and Litecoin prices, especially Bitcoin, where Bitcoin will have a parabolic move up and then it'll have a really nasty correction. The really bearish articles will come out talking about the bull market's over, Bitcoin's going to crash, it's going to go to zero, blah, blah. I mean, the normal bearish stuff. And then, you know, Bitcoin basically just consolidates for a while and then builds a base and then it just moves higher. So I think, you know, Bitcoin and Litecoin have had pretty normal bull market consolidations where it may look like a temporary bear market, but they've had healthy consolidations, and consolidations are healthy for a long-term bull market. And, you know, the mania speculative phase we're seeing in some of these altcoins, with the total market cap of the cryptocurrency now getting close to $750 billion of total market cap for all cryptocurrencies. And basically, it seems to me at least that each week or two, there's a new cryptocurrency that I've never heard of move into the top 10. I think, you know, Bitcoin and Litecoin are still good long-term bets. If you looked at if you're a more experienced stock or commodity investor trader, buying something in a consolidation channel that you know still has long-term potential is normally still a good long-term bet to make. Bitcoin and Litecoin are still, you know, speculative, obviously. But if you're looking for actual companies that can potentially, you know, grow revenue, make earnings pretty quickly, generate free cash flow, Hive Blockchain and MGT Capital are very interesting stories. Obviously, do your own due diligence. But I think, you know, Bitcoin and Litecoin are just having healthy consolidation patterns. And do you guys think then it's going to be 6 months or less before the next move higher in Bitcoin and Litecoin?